Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I will be giving you my review for the latest installment in the Scream franchise, which is of course Scream, otherwise known as Scream 5. So just before I get into this review, I just want to make it clear that I will not be giving any spoilers away for this film. So if you're worried at all, then do not fear, there will be no spoilers for this film. And for the purposes of this review, I will be referring to the film as Scream 5. I know the official title of the film is Scream, but just to avoid any confusion between this film and the original film, I will be referring to it as Scream 5, just to make things easier. So as I mentioned, Scream 5 is the fifth film in the long-running Scream franchise, and that was a series of films that was about a killer that would dress up in a Ghostface costume and would basically go around killing people. These films were very well known for being very self-referential and kind of taking the mickey out of other horror films, being very meta. And yeah, these series of films concentrated on mainly a trio of characters. You had Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell, Gale Weathers, played by Courtney Cox, and Dewey Riley, played by David Arquette. Now, in this film, we kind of concentrate on some new characters, let's say. The main character of the film is a character called Samantha, who is played by Melissa Barrera. We are also joined by her boyfriend Richie, played by Jack Quaid. Now, at the beginning of the film, Samantha's sister Tara, who Samantha is actually estranged with, is attacked in the town of Woodsboro, and this prompts Samantha to come back to Woodsboro along with her boyfriend Richie to basically start her own investigation and to see what has happened. And as you can expect, a new killing spree begins in Woodsboro, which involves a Ghostface killer. We're joined by a host of new characters, but we also get the original trio back of Dewey Riley, Gale Weathers, and of course, Sidney Prescott. I don't really want to give away too much in terms of plot. I will say one thing, that the main character of Samantha, her backstory is kind of significant to the previous Scream films. I don't really want to give away too much, but her family history is interesting, and if you've seen the other Scream films and you know them well, then what you find out about her is quite significant. All of the previous Scream films have always had some kind of theme to them. Like the original is obviously kind of being meta towards old slasher films like Halloween, Friday the 13th. Scream 2 was kind of about sequels, Scream 3 about the end of a trilogy, Scream 4 kind of, tried to look into remakes, whereas this film, Scream 5, looks at the new trend that we have at the moment with regards to soft reboots or requels, as they like to call them. And, we've had a lot of films like that in the past few years, like the new Star Wars trilogy, the latest Ghostbusters film, the new Halloween sequels, the 2018 one and Halloween Kills. So yeah, this film kind of looks at that, and this film does feel very much in the same vein as those films. I guess the big question you're probably wondering is, did I like this film? And the answer is yes, I did like it. On a whole, I thought it was pretty good. I had some issues with it, but on the whole, I thought it was a pretty good film. Anyone who knows me will know that I was never a big fan of Scream 4 when it came out, and even when I've tried to rewatch it over the years, I still just could never really get into it. I thought it was a very boring film. I thought it was a bit of a misstep, kind of a missed opportunity to reignite the franchise. I feel like this film, Scream 5, is what Scream 4 should have been at the time. One thing I did like about this film was the new cast. We've obviously got Melissa Barrera playing Samantha, we've got Gemma Ortega playing Tara, we've also got Dylan Minnette in there playing Wes Hicks, and Jack Quaid as Richie, and they're all very, very likeable young actors. I always kind of worry when they do these films and they obviously bring in new faces, because I know for sort of long-time fans of these types of franchises, that can be kind of an issue. But on the whole, the cast is very likable, they're very good actors, the performances are really, really good. And yeah, they hold the film up really well. I actually felt this film was one of the more scarier entries in the franchise. I think the first film, the original Scream, was possibly the only one to kind of be scary. I know that this franchise is not really thought of as being a very, very scary franchise. But I do feel like some kind of realism was brought back in this one. And also, this film is very gory and very violent. I know this series has always been violent, but Ghostface is pissed in this film. It actually reminded me a bit of the new Halloween films, like the 2018 one, and especially Halloween Kills, where Michael Myers in those films, he is very, very brutal in those films. And the same can be said for this film. Ghostface, is not so much creative, but cruel in this film. Some of the deaths in the film are very extreme, very, very bloody, and they may even be too gory for some people to handle. But if you can handle it, then you should appreciate it. And I really did enjoy the film in that regard. If there was an issue I had with this film, it would probably be the handling of the legacy characters. I obviously said before that Nev Campbell returns, Courtney Cox returns, and also David Arquette. And whilst it is good to see them in this film, I do feel like they're kind of underused. I feel like the characters don't really have much impact to the story. As I was watching this film and as it got towards the end, I kind of thought to myself that if these characters were not in the film at all, I still think the film would have been exactly the same. I just don't really think they have much to do. They don't have much impact to the story, and they just kind of feel like they're in the film because, it's the original characters and they have to be in it. And I feel like that's the problem, that a lot of these requels, as they like to call them, I think that's a problem that a lot of these types of films had. I think the Star Wars sequels was a prime example of it, where the original characters, the handling of them was just not done very well. And I would say the same here. Like I say, it is really great to see them in the film. And, it's great to see Sydney kicking ass, of course. But I do wish they could have had more to do. Like, for instance, when we find Sydney at the beginning of the film, it's clear that she's a mother. She's got some kids, maybe one or two, I don't know. But we get no sort of detail about her life at all. We don't know if she's married. We don't know, who she had these kids with, nothing. And we don't really know what's happened with Dewey and Gail. We just don't know what's happened in their lives between this film and Scream 4. I also felt that on a whole, the film didn't really offer anything new to the franchise. Like I say, I still really enjoyed it, and I would say it is a much better film than Scream 4, and possibly even Scream 3. I know Scream 3 is hated by most. I actually didn't mind it. I would prefer watching Scream 3 over 4, but this one might just be better than those two. But like I say, it doesn't really add anything new. It kind of treads on old ground a little bit. We even see some locations from the previous films, which, could be a nice bit of fan service, but then some people might think it's just old news and we want to see something different. But the film is still pretty enjoyable for what it is. One thing I did hate about this film, and I really did hate it, I can't really spoil too much, but there is a bizarre piece of fan service in this film that it involves a character from a previous film. I'm not going to say which character it is. I'm not going to say which film it's from, but it felt forced. It felt like it was not needed. It would have been better if they just kind of mentioned it instead of actually showing you. But it's hard for me to really talk about it in detail without spoiling anything. I'm sure once you see the film, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. So would I recommend this film? Well, if you're a fan of the Scream franchise, then absolutely I would. It's a lot of fun. Ghostface is as brutal as ever. The new cast are great. It's great to see the old faces. And for me personally, I thought it was a big improvement over Scream 4, and it's the film that Scream 4 should have been. So on the whole, I would probably give Scream or Scream 5 a 7 out of 10. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. It doesn't really do anything new with the franchise, and some slight issues aside, it's a pretty fun film. It's a good time. If you like horror films, you like the Scream films, then I'm sure you'll enjoy this one as well. So there you go, guys. That was my review for Scream or Scream 5. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have seen the film yourself, then let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought of it. I would love to hear about that. Until then, I will hopefully see you all on the next one. So take care, guys, and see you soon.